Hey folks, this is Riker with a Diablo 2 Resurrected Sorceress leveling guide. This video will cover the skills and the gear you'll want to go for while leveling up a Sorceress through normal difficulty, nightmare, and hell. And by the end of it, you're going to have a level 75 Sorceress who's ready to move on to an endgame build and get into endgame farming. This guide was brought to you in collaboration with Diablo 2 expert Tio, and you can find a link to his written guide on maxroll.gg in the description below. Now, there are a few different ways that you can level up a Sorceress, and Maxroll presents the different variants. But here we'll cover the path that starts you off using the newly buffed Nova skill, which will then progress into the powerful Blizzard skill that you'll unlock later, while also taking Meteor to rain fire down upon our enemies that are immune to the cold damage of our Blizzard. So diving in here, you've just created your Sorceress. Fresh start, you've run out into the Bloodmoor, you've killed a few zombies, a few quill rats, and now you've leveled up. Where do you allocate your skill and your attribute points? Well, for the attributes, we have our choice to allocate between strength, dexterity, vitality, and energy. We'll never put a single point into dexterity throughout the entire journey to 75. We just don't need it. For strength, we want to put enough to be able to equip certain key pieces of gear. But for now, you don't have to worry about putting anything into strength. Vitality is where most of our points will go. Now and forever in pretty much any endgame build as well. It's our default option. More health keeps us alive. Now that leaves energy, and an endgame build will generally never invest points into energy. But early in the game, a little bit of extra mana that energy gives can be really helpful. And we can always respec out of it later. More on respec in a bit. So you'll put your first 10 points into energy at level 2 and at level 3. Then you're going to dump vitality for a while. As for your skill points, you're going to put your first points into Charged Bolt in the lightning tree. You'll use Charged Bolt as your main damage skill for the first dozen or so levels. It shoots out multiple bolts of lightning that spread out. You can hit a lot of enemies at once with it, but it's a bit of a shotgun pattern, so if you're facing a single target, you want to get up close and make sure your lightning buckshot, all of the projectiles hit that singular enemy. Once you've completed the first quest, the Den of Evil, you're going to unlock another skill point. And as you continue to level, you'll want to invest ultimately 4 points in total into Charged Bolt. Completing the Den of Evil also grants you from the Akara NPC in town the ability to respecialize or respec your character. You're going to want to save that until you reach level 24. Then once you reach level 5, you're going to hold off on spending your skill point and instead save it so that we can take 2 skills that unlock once we hit level 6, Static Field and Frost Nova. Now Charge Bolt will remain our main damage dealer, but Frost Nova will bring great utility by slowing enemies. As for Static Field, this is such a powerful skill because it removes 25% of an enemy's health per hit, whether they're a big monster with lots of health or a little one. This also means that the most effective time to use Static Field is when the enemy is at max health, because it removes 25% of their current health, not their max health. So with every subsequent Static Field, the skill becomes less effective. So the most effective tactic here is, at the start of an engagement, blast your enemies with Static Field about 2 to 3 times, and then finish them off with Charged Bolt. Now for items, if you can find or afford a short staff that grants you +2 or +3 to Charged Bolt, definitely go for that. You can check Akara to see if she's selling any once you've made a couple thousand gold. Then, as you continue to level, you're going to put points into Static Field until you reach a total of 4 points. You'll also want to farm for some specific items at this point. Runes, which you're going to insert into certain items in a specific order to create powerful rune words that'll give us tremendous buffs. To farm these, we will run the Countess over and over until we get the runes we want. To do this, we take the waypoint to the Black Marsh, locate the Forgotten Tower, go all the way down to the lowest level, and kill the Countess within over and over until we acquire the following runes: Tal and Eth. Once you acquire these runes, you can continue progressing through the campaign. If you want to, however, you can also choose to farm up to 2 tier runes, which grant you mana when you kill an enemy. As our mana needs will be on the rise, we can put these 2 tier runes in a 2-socket helm for better mana management. Fun bit of trivia, the word management actually comes from the need to have to regulate our mana. Don't look it up, it's true, trust me. Then once you're around level 9, you're going to put a point into Frozen Armor. This gives us a nice defensive buff. You're going to want to keep Frozen Armor up all the time. It increases our defense rating, and it freezes melee enemies that hit us. Since we got to get close to enemies sometimes for the Charge Bolt, Shotgun Blast, or for the Static Field, ensuring that those enemies near us aren't hurting us, not a bad idea. You'll also put 1 point into Telekinesis. It's a prerequisite to teleport, the best skill in the game, but it also lets you pick up utility items like potions and scrolls at range. You can also activate waypoints at range and even knock back monsters. Telekinesis overall is a bit more of an advanced tactic, but regardless, we still need it as a prerequisite. Now at this point, you'll want to start putting points into Strength. The Sorceress only starts off with 10 Strength, and you'll want to reach 25 strength to equip a belt so that we can carry more potions. So spend your next 15 attribute points in strength. Then, as always, default back to vitality. Then once you hit level 12, it's time to start investing into Nova. And this is where our next several skill points are going to go. Nova shoots out a ring of lightning around us, and this will be our main damage skill for the next while. Starting at level 13 though. We want to wait to get 2 skill points into Nova before making the switch from Charged Bolt, which we've invested some points into, it's doing pretty good. Nova level 1 is going to be weaker, so you want to wait for level 2. Once we get Nova rocking, our skill rotation becomes approach enemies, hit them with Frost Nova to slow them, then weaken them a couple times with Static Field, then finish them off with Nova. For big bosses with lots of health, like Act bosses, Nova isn't as effective, so you'll want to use a lot more Static Field before finishing them off with Nova. Now, item-wise, at this point, the weapon you'll be looking for, either to buy it off Akara or if you get lucky enough to find one in the world, is a wand that grants faster cast rate. This is so that we can blast out those Novas faster and teleport faster once we unlock teleport at level 18. Similarly, rings and amulets that grant us faster cast rate will be ideal. Once you hit level 17, spend the next attribute points you'll get over the following levels into strength until you reach 47 strength, which is what we'll need to equip the powerful item that we'll be getting soon. Now, by the time we hit level 17, we're going to want to have made the stealth rune word. So to do that, you'll want to have found or bought from Charcy, the blacksmith, a normal or superior quality body armor with 2 sockets. Not a magic one, it has to be devoid of magic properties or this will not work. Then you're going to insert the Tal rune first, then the Eth rune second, and you'll now have created the stealth rune word, which grants us faster run walk speed, faster cast rate, faster hit recovery, and some mana regeneration. All of which will be tremendously useful to us for a very, very long time. In fact, you can keep this armor all the way up to level 75 if you don't find something significantly better. And don't worry that the base armor isn't a high-level armor with lots of defense. We don't need it. It's fine if it is quilted armor. So at level 17, equip your stealth armor. Then until level 18, you have continued to put points into Nova. But as soon as you can, at level 18, you pop a point into teleport. This is arguably the most overpowered skill in the game. The extreme mobility that it provides can be used to engage enemies, to escape, and to quickly travel across the map, making sorceresses the fastest class in the game, apart from builds that acquire teleport through items. But they're just trying to steal the sorceress's greatness. But after that 1 point in teleport, it's right back to putting points into Nova. Now, once you reach level 21, you'll be able to build the Ancient's Pledge Shield rune word, but only if you've completed Act 5's second quest, which rewards you with the 3 runes you need for the rune word, Ral, Ort, and Tal. You'll want to put these into a 3-socket Kite Shield or Large Shield, which you can either find as a drop or buy from Farah in Act 2. If she's not selling one, just leave town, return, check her inventory again, because it is now refreshed. And just keep doing this, leaving town, coming back, either by physically walking out of town or by taking a waypoint, whichever is closest for you, and keep refreshing your inventory until you get that 3-socket shield that you're able to equip. Now, if by this level you have not yet completed Act 5 second quest, don't worry about it. Just make your Ancient's Pledge as soon as you're able to. This rune word provides a huge amount of resistance. 43% cold resistance, 48% lightning resistance, 48% fire, and 48% poison resistance. This is a huge defensive buff, and you will take this shield all the way to Hell difficulty. The higher the difficulty, the more important our resists become. Now, skill-wise, continue to pump skill points into Nova until level 24, keeping the skill maxed. And you put any excess skill points that you get into Static Field. Now, around level 21 to 23, you might gain access to the Secret Cow level, ideally. It's whenever you beat the game on normal. In the secret cow level is where you will find the base for the powerful rune word Spirit. What we need is a crystal sword with 4 sockets, so look for a non-socketed, non-magic crystal sword. And then we're going to use the Act 5 Quest 1 reward to add sockets to that crystal sword, and it'll add the desired 4 sockets. But make sure that the crystal sword you get is from the secret cow level. It is imperative, otherwise it might not add the correct number of sockets. Now, in order to access the secret cow level, again, you must have defeated Baal on normal difficulty. Then you have to go pick up Wirt's leg in Tristram, which can be found in Act 1 by taking the waypoint to the Stony Fields. You locate the Cairn Stones, you've done this before as a quest, go through, into Tristram, go all the way to the left side, click on Wirt, grab his leg, get out of there. Then in your Horadric Cube, in town, put in Wirt's leg, put in a Tome of Town portal. It doesn't matter whether it's empty or full, just buy one off Akara, shove it in there, hit transmute, and bam, you've opened up a portal to the secret cow level. This is a great place to farm XP and items. And once you've cleared up everything in the secret cow level, you can repeat this process over and over and over until you get your crystal sword. It's good XP in the meantime. We do ideally want to be getting to the secret cow level sooner rather than later, in order to maximize the benefit that we get out of it XP-wise. Now, once we hit level 24, that's when we unlock Blizzard, and that'll become our main damage dealer all the way through Hell difficulty. It casts, as you might imagine, a blizzard down upon your enemies in an area over time. And while it can be a bit tricky to aim, because you need enemies to get hit by the individual falling snow shards, it is the highest damage skill that the Sorceress has. When you're fighting ranged enemies who are likely to stay put, cast Blizzard directly on them. But when you're facing melee enemies that are moving towards you, create some distance, cast Blizzard between yourself and the enemies, and let them walk through. You'll hopefully even get them to be struck by multiple projectiles. Now, Blizzard has a bunch of prerequisite skills, but as you've noted, we have not saved up for them while playing with Nova, because we're now going to use our respec at Akara in Act 1 normal. This is going to refund all of our skill points and all of our attribute points. We get to do this once per game difficulty, and in the end game you can get more respecs, but that's more of an end game thing. So the first thing you'll do is handle the reallocation of your attribute points. Get your strength back up to 47, and now we put all our remaining points into vitality. We're not going to put a single point into energy anymore because we're about to get a huge amount of mana from a powerful item. Then for our skill points, in the lightning tree, you put 1 point into telekinesis, 1 into teleport, and 5 into static field. For the cold tree, put 1 into frozen armor. Then the prerequisite skills for Blizzard each receive 1 point. That's going to be Frost Nova, Ice Bolt, Ice Blast, and Glacial Spike. Then lastly, you put 1 skill point into Blizzard. And from here until level 30, you want to keep Blizzard maxed out. And any excess skill points that you get, put into Ice Blast, whose synergy gives our Blizzard more damage. You will, however, want to save up 1 excess skill point until level 30, so that you can allocate 1 into Blizzard and Cold Mastery. Basically, you want to have 2 skill points to allocate at level 30. 1 goes into the newly unlocked Cold Mastery, 1 into Blizzard to keep Blizzard maxed out. Now, Ice Blast, in addition to being a synergy, will also be used to help take down enemies that have a lot of health. See, Blizzard has this short cooldown, and during that cooldown, you can be firing off Ice Blasts. Now, gear-wise, once you beat the game on normal and you've unlocked Nightmare, you can start shopping for gloves, boots, and belts that grant resistances. Keeping your resistances around 75% becomes increasingly important in the higher difficulties. And before you can get comfortable in Nightmare difficulty, you'll probably want to be around level 26. If you are not yet level 26 in Nightmare difficulty, Akara will not sell the larger potions that'll restore more of your health and mana. Then once you reach the Countess in Nightmare difficulty, you'll want to farm her until you acquire the following runes: Sol, Tal, Thul, Emn, and 2 Ort runes. And this is because now, as soon as possible, you want to make yourself a spirit rune word, using Tal, Thul, Ort, and Emn in a 4-socket crystal sword. Now, it's a lot of effort to put together this spirit, to farm up the runes, and more so to farm up the crystal sword. So why go to all this effort? Well, Spirit grants us a whopping +2 to all skills, up to 35% faster cast rate, a bunch of mana, and faster hit recovery. It has so much cast rate, in fact, that we can afford to have faster cast rate on only one piece of our jewelry, which allows us to stack more resistances on the other two pieces. And you can keep using Spirit all the way through Hell difficulty and beyond into endgame farming. Then at level 27, you're going to want to make yourself the Lore rune word, using the Ort and Soul runes in a 2-socket helm. This should be infinitely easier to get than the Crystal Sword for Spirit. Just keep visiting Charcy in Act 1, refreshing her inventory until she has a 2-socket helm for sale. Lore gives us an additional +1 to all skills and 30% lightning resist, and it's another item that you'll be able to keep with you until endgame. Once you hit level 30, you put 1 point into Cold Mastery, which allows our cold skills to pierce through some enemy cold resistance. Just be aware that this does not make monsters that are immune to cold no longer immune to cold. But after that 1 point into Cold Mastery, it's back to blasting Blizzard until you max out Blizzard around level 43. You then finish maxing out Ice Blast, and it's once you've maxed those two out that you start to branch out into the Fire Tree in order to build up our second elemental damage attack to deal with the cold immunes that come in higher difficulties. Now you might ask, how do you deal with cold immunes before you get your fire damage dealer? Well, you skip all the ones that the game lets you skip, and for the ones that you can't skip, you rely on your mercenary. You want to use an Act 2 mercenary with the Might Aura, which boosts his own damage, and then you're going to static field enemies down as much as you can and let your mercenary finish them off. Now, another thing that you can do to boost your mercenary and yourself is to give him the Insight rune word. While playing through Nightmare, you can find a 4-socket polearm, and you'll want to farm the following runes on Nightmare Countess: Ral, Tyr, Tal, and Soul. Insert those runes in that order, and you'll create the Insight rune word, which gives the weapon a nice damage buff, but more important to us, it grants the mercenary the Meditation Aura, which will help us replenish our mana faster. Bye-bye Potion Addiction. Now going back to skills, while we're investing in the Fire Tree, you put 1 point into Firebolt, 1 into Fireball, Inferno, Blaze, and Firewall. These are all prerequisites, because we're going for Meteor, which will be our backup damage dealer. Once you put the 1 point into Meteor, you're going to put 1 point into Fire Mastery, which increases the damage done by all of our fire spells. And it really is worth it to get just the 1 point, because by now we're gonna have gear that's giving us plus to all skills. So that 1 point investment can turn into easily +4 to Fire Mastery. Now, after that 1 point, you put all of your remaining skill points into Meteor until that is maxed. And then, once that's maxed, you put all your remaining skill points into Cold Mastery until you're ready to move on to a full endgame build. And this is the setup that'll get you all the way through Hell difficulty, with enough respecs left over to then change to the endgame build of your choice. But before we finish, we'll briefly touch upon some other options that can help you out while you're leveling. One rune word that might be interesting for you is Leaf. You use a Tyr and a Ral rune in a 2-socket short staff, which you can buy from Akara in Act 1 normal, and this will grant you +3 to fire skills. This will buff our Meteor, and we can keep this weapon on our weapon swap, changing to it when we want to use Meteor. Alternatively, once you reach level 30, you can buy a wand of lower resistance from Mala in normal Act 5, or from Akara in Nightmare Act 1, or Drognin from Nightmare Act 2. You would put this on your weapon swap, and it gives you access to the Necromancer's lower resist curse, which will help your fire damage. Then before you get your Lore Helm, you can also put 2 Ral runes, which are easily farmable from normal Countess, in a 2-socket helm just to gain some fire resistance, which will help us out a lot early game. And if by some chance you happen to be fortunate enough to get a skin of the Viper Magi to drop, or this isn't your first character and you farmed one or traded for one elsewhere, this is the best body armor you can get your hands on while leveling. It grants +1 to all skills, 30% faster cast rate, and up to 35% to all resistances. Other useful items would be Mage Fist gauntlets, give you +1 to fire skills. It's a nice little buff, but more importantly, 20% faster cast rate, along with a nice 25% mana regen. And then any ring or amulet that gives you plus skill levels is great, but you don't want to sacrifice too much faster cast rate. We're not going to get into the specifics of breakpoints here, but we'll say that you want to maintain at least 63% faster cast rate, and you can see how much faster cast rate you have in your detailed stats tab. Now for a shield, if you feel you can afford to lose the resistances from Ancient's Pledge, you can get the Splendor rune word, using the Eth and Lum runes, which gives you +1 to all skills, faster cast rate, mana regen, and some magic find. Or if you happen to find a lidless wall shield, you can go with that. It grants +1 to all skills and faster cast rate. Now again, from here, you're going to be ready to move into a full-on endgame build. You are level 75, congratulations. Do be sure to have checked out my Ultimate Beginner's Guide for Diablo 2 Resurrected, and stay tuned for more guides. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider pledging on YouTube or Patreon and unlocking behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. Check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Riker's Raiders for more Diablo content.